and welcome to the Qlik ColorStyler extension demo introduction video. I've built up a little Qlik Sense app here using all sort of default colors and color palettes and Qlik data market data, weather information, high and low temperatures and so forth. And I'm going to show you a little extension I put together because sometimes, let's say I want to be able to choose certain colors. So let's see, we look at the maximum temperature chart here, for example. And the color options that we have are basically a single color, a few different colors here, changing by dimension, which is great, of course, setting color by a measure, a couple of different gradients, but sometimes I kind of want to change to another gradient, or set a color by expression, but it's kind of hard to write without knowing how to. So that's the reason why I built this first, because in Qlik View there was a nice color mix wizard to create a gradient, and it generates an expression for you. So I thought I'd replicate that logic into a Qlik Sense extension. So let's take a look at how this works. So let me jump over to the ColorStyler, and this is the ColorStyler. It's an extension both for the desktop as well as the server. And let's go ahead and pick my app here, the Data Market ColorStyler. And you see I have a number of objects that pop up, and these are all my master visualizations. We have information about them, which is the description of that master object. So let's go ahead and look at that maximum temperature visualization that I just set to color by expression, so it's all gray. Let's say I want to give it a color that is different from those 12 base colors that we saw. I actually want it to be kind of this red, but a little bit darker. And I want it to give a little bit of a lower opacity here, so we can kind of see through it a little bit. So that's great. And when I'm making this change, you can actually see in the application that it's pushing in the change right away. But it hasn't been saved yet. So if I do click on this Save Changes button, or I go into the app and save the app, those changes will be persisted into the master object and go across my application. Let me pick another visualization here. Let's look at this. It's a scatter chart showing the average min temperature versus the max temperature, and the size of the bubble is the rainfall in the last period. So let's say we want to have a nice gradient here. So I can do the standard kind of blue to brownish one, but let's say I want to define my own gradient. And let's say I want to have a diverging gradient with a kind of a color in the middle here. And let me tweak that a little bit. So we go from kind of a light yellow to a pinkish to a purple. Let's get rid of that opacity and make it a bit darker. I can play around with the buttons here and see what does it look like in a smaller size or even a larger object. So I can define my own gradient, or I can go to the gradient themes and pick a set of predefined themes. Actually, I want to have this kind of gradient, but I want to flip the colors around, so I check this reverse colors and it automatically updates. So once I found a gradient that I'm happy with, again, I can save the changes, and if I look at the application, those changes are already applied here, so I can see it in my object. So what about those kind of the maps on the right? I kind of like the maximum temperature one. It seems like it's showing it in a neat way. But if we look at the minimum temperature, let me go ahead and pull that map out, minimum temperature by country. And let's make that a bit larger as well. So maybe I'll give that another gradient. So I'll use this kind of light blue to blue thing, but probably the other way around. So the coldest countries are the most intense blue. I'll go ahead and save that, and I get a little notification that my app has been saved, and we jump over to look, and yeah, that looks good to me. So one final thing that you can do is to set a theme as well, and this is just a theme where it can get sort of different colors for different bars. Let's say maybe I can show it better in another object. I'll go to the executive dashboard here. Let's look at this revenue by product and give it a theme. I'll use this theme instead. As you can see, it then kind of portions out the colors nicely. Or let's say I want to use this expenses as a percentage of sales pie chart, and I'll give it another theme. I want to use the default palette here. Great. So it works for all of the chart types. The only thing that is kind of tricky is when there are multiple measures in a chart, because then it's very hard to target from a color expression what happens, or how to assign a color for the different measures. So what's actually happening in the application, if I go ahead and open here, and let's look at the details of this scatter chart, for example. It sets the color mode to by expression, and it generates this kind of gradient color mix expression based on the colors that have been selected, either by clicking on a predefined gradient theme or by creating your own and adding in the opacity from the setting as well. So that's how it works. Now, one little extra thing is, under the themes we have a number of predefined themes, and same thing for the gradient themes. There's a number of predefined themes. If you want to add your own themes or change any of the existing ones, you can do that from the config file. So there's one config file called themes, which lists out all the kind of dimension themes, and you can set your, just add an object or edit an existing one, and just give it a name and then create your own palette. And the same thing for the gradients. Most of them are based on 3 colors, sort of a multi-hue, where it goes from a high to a kind of a medium color to a low color. But you can also do 2 color gradients, where you just go from a kind of a faint color to an intense color. And once you add objects here, those will automatically then, when you refresh your ColorStyler, be populated into the table, and you can select those and use those to style your Qlik objects. And if you open up the ColorStyler and you don't know exactly what to do, just click on this little help button in the top right corner, and here you have the instructions on how to use it, and a link to the GitHub repository for where it can be downloaded, and any new changes will be applied as well. Thank you so much. Happy styling.